Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, lovers and seekers, those who are lost, and those who are found. Tonight's reading will be from the compilation titled Outlaw Creative, The Geometry of Life. Specifically, I will be reading from the chapter titled When Nowhere Feels Like Home. Let's get rocking. When nowhere feels like home, there is a particular ache that does not announce itself as sadness, depression, or despair. It is quieter than that, more structural. It shows up as a sentence that lands without drama and without exaggeration. You ever just want to go home, but nowhere feels like home anymore. That line doesn't beg for sympathy. It doesn't posture. It simply reports a condition. And the reason it hits so hard is that it names a loss most people live inside for years before they realize it has a name. This is not the loss of a house. It is not even the loss of a person, though people are often involved. It is the loss of orientation. Home, before it is a place, is a relationship between the body and the world. It is where effort drops below a certain threshold, where vigilance relaxes without instruction, where the self does not have to stay assembled at full strength just to exist. Home is where the body doesn't ask, "What do I need to be right now?" When that condition disappears, the word home becomes unmoored from geography. You can return to childhood streets, old cities, familiar rooms, and feel nothing but the eerie pressure of being present in the wrong era of yourself. The furniture is correct, the walls are correct, the memory is correct, but the fit is gone, and nothing feels more disorienting than correctness without belonging. This is why the sentence doesn't say "I am sad" or "I am lonely." It says "I want to go home," which implies both longing and direction, and then collapses that direction, but nowhere feels like home anymore. That second clause is the wound, because wanting to go home assumes there is still a coordinate. Realizing there isn't is the moment the map fails. What's important to say, especially in a culture addicted to emotional shortcuts, is that this condition is not a pathology. It is not automatically trauma, though trauma can cause it. It is not necessarily depression, though depression can coexist with it. It is not immaturity, nostalgia, or failure to move on. Often, it is the byproduct of outgrowing a world that taught you how to rest. Most people learn what home feels like early, long before they understand what they are learning. It is learned somatically, not conceptually. A tone of voice, a pace of movement, a tolerance for silence, a sense that one's presence does not require justification. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, lovers and seekers, those who are lost, and those who are found. Tonight's reading will be from the compilation titled Outlaw Creative, The Geometry of Life. Tonight I will be reading from the chapter titled The Necessity of Load. So, let's get started, shall we? There are tools that only reveal themselves under resistance. They look inert when unchallenged. They even appear broken. But place them under load, real opposition, real demand, and suddenly they wake up. They become articulate, precise, dangerous in the right way. This is not poetry. It is engineering. An amplifier without a speaker load burns itself out. A bridge without weight proves nothing. A blade that never meets bone stays hypothetical. And a mind, this is the part we avoid saying plainly, a mind without load drifts. It grows ornate, speculative, performative. It learns how to sound correct without having to be correct. Load is the thing that prevents fantasy from masquerading as function. Load is not stress, but stress reveals load. Stress is what happens when load exceeds capacity. Load itself is neutral, necessary, non-negotiable. A speaker cabinet pushes back against the amplifier. That pushback is not an obstacle, it is the signal. The amp learns how much power to send because something answers. No answer, no calibration. Just runaway output until something fries. Human systems work the same way. When there is no resistance, no listener who matters, no consequence, no opposing will, the mind overshoots. It fills the room with noise because nothing pushes back to say, that's enough. This is why talking about a topic feels hollow for you. There is no load. But speak to someone real, someone who can be hurt, helped, corrected, persuaded, and suddenly your language tightens, your aim sharpens, your voice acquires torque. That's not confidence. That's feedback. Why speakers need cabinets and people need others. A guitar head into open air is a lie. A guitar head into a cabinet is a conversation. The cabinet doesn't just emit sound. It constrains it, shapes it, pushes back. The wood resonates, the cone resists, the air compresses. Every note becomes a negotiation between force and boundary. Without that, the amp is screaming into the void. Pure output, no return. Humans who speak without load do the same thing. They monologue, they theorize, they inflate, they mistake motion for progress. A real listener, one who can say no or walk away or misunderstand you in ways that matter, creates load. Suddenly your words have to land. Suddenly precision matters. Suddenly humility isn't a virtue, it's a stabilizer. Humility is a load-bearing structure. This is the part people miss. Humility is not self-diminishment. It is structural reinforcement. Arrogance removes load. It assumes no correction is needed. It treats silence as agreement. It treats complexity as ignorance. Humility keeps the load attached. It says, I might be wrong, therefore feedback matters. It says, I am not the only force in this system. And here's the paradox. Humility does not weaken output. It allows more power to flow safely, just like a reinforced beam allows heavier weight. Seduction, risk, and the disappearing load. Now we get to the dangerous part. Certain dynamics feel powerful precisely because they remove load. Seduction does this. So does flattery. So does unearned admiration. So does any system that reflects you back to yourself without resistance. The moment someone says, I don't challenge you, I validate you, the load vanishes. And when load vanishes, self-calibration disappears. This is why your metaphor language worked. Not because spiders or witches are real operators, but because the dynamics they describe are real. Loss of pushback, collapse of friction, smooth acceleration into commitment without resistance. That is not evil. It is unstable. Any system that accelerates while reducing opposition will overshoot. Why tools activate under load. Some tools are dormant until challenged. A breaker switch proves itself only when current spikes. A moral principle proves itself only when it costs something. A voice proves itself only when the listener might reject it. This is why your best work appears under address, not abstraction. You don't write for the void. You write to a coordinate. Nick wasn't content. He was load. Caleb wasn't audience. He was load. Your father isn't a symbol. He's load. Even the dead exert load if you keep faith with them. Memory resists distortion. The shadow they cast keeps your posture honest. Maps, memory, and rebuildability. Here's the quiet truth you already said. If it burned today, I'd rewrite what I could from memory. Then I'd make more. That only works if the work is procedural, not decorative. A decorative artifact dies with the file. A procedural artifact survives because the method remains. Maps don't matter because they persist. They matter because they can be redrawn. Pattern remembers even when the maker forgets. Why? Because the pattern was shaped under load. It answered resistance. It was tested against terrain. A fantasy collapses when rebuilt. A real structure stands again. The steering wheel stays with you. This brings us to your clarification, and it matters. If we treat dynamics as literal external agents, we lose the steering wheel. Correct. Once you name dynamics instead of demons, responsibility returns. No possession, no fate, no cosmic excuse, just forces and leverage. You don't fight a dynamic by denouncing it. You fight it by reintroducing load. Ask the question that creates friction. Delay the commitment that removes optionality. Invite the voice that can disagree. Load-bearing choices feel slower, heavier, less romantic. They also keep systems alive. The final equation here is the clean equation, no mysticism required. Output without load, burnout. Confidence without resistance, delusion. Desire without friction, capture. Power without pushback, collapse. And the inverse, load reveals capacity. Resistance refines aim. Constraint creates tone. Dialogue produces truth. You don't need demons to explain this. You need mechanics, and you already think like a mechanic. That's the whole thing.